we also have two great guests with us that are going to break down two things that are happening now with the Kavanaugh hearings, because you know that is going on fire, as well as the developments in the Rod Rosenstein scenario. We have right next to me, he's been waiting patiently. I got to tell you, this is the coolest guy in the business because I am sweating like crazy here. This guy hasn't had a drop. Brian Ross, our corresponding investigative reporter here at the Law&Crime Network. You are clearly the coolest guy in this room.
Ready to go.
Okay, so what's going on here? I mean, the developments when I came on air, we're all over the place about this meeting with Rosenstein. I know that you've actually done some looking into it. What do we know, Brian?
Absolutely. Well, this is a day of turmoil and chaos at the White House, which appears to be the new normal in the Trump administration. First, new questions about the president's nominee for the Supreme Court, Brett Kavanaugh. And before that, questions about the survival of the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein. The day began with reports in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal that he was either going to be fired or quit today. He went to the White House, met with the Chief of Staff, John Kelly, and the outcome is he is still the Deputy Attorney General. The White House says he will be meeting with the president on Thursday. Mr. Trump is here in New York to attend the United Nations General Assembly. So we don't know what's going to happen with Rod Rosenstein, and it's important because he's the person who oversees the Mueller investigation into Russian tampering in the election in 2016.
Yeah, Brian, what do we know is going to happen if he actually is removed? Who's next in line to take over there?
If Rosenstein is removed, the next in line would be Noah Francisco. He is the Solicitor General, a former law clerk for Justice Anton Scalia, a known conservative and active political person. You know,
there's been a lot of obviously reporting about this case, and we've covered some aspects of it. But, you know, there is something that's a little disconcerting about the idea that many are arguing that either being forced out of the position or having to resign or being asked to resign rather than get fired would be potentially another argument that there's obstruction with respect to the Mueller investigation. What are your thoughts?
Well, it could well be. Rosenstein has been a staunch defender of the Mueller investigation, has refused to interfere in any way, even though President Trump has demanded that. His job is to oversee that. If he were to be out of office, then it would raise questions about whether Mr. Trump could somehow influence the Mueller investigation.
Yeah, now, Brian, this all is precipitated by a New York Times article that came out about potential wiretapping or Rod Rosenstein actually trying to invoke the 25th Amendment. What do we know about that?
Well, the New York Times reported that Rosenstein, on several occasions, suggested that perhaps there should be secretly taping the President of the United States and use that tape as evidence that he should be removed from office under the 25th Amendment, which allows the president to be removed if he's incapable of carrying out his job.
Brian, do we know when supposedly all this was taking place? Was this before Rosenstein was in charge of this investigation or during the course of that investigation where he was the boss?
Just at the turning point, right after the president had fired Jim Comey as head of the FBI, and the #2 man there, Kevin McCabe, had taken over. A lot of back and forth. Mr. Rosenstein has said those remarks were made in a sarcastic way. He was saying, what do you want me to do, tape this guy? And he didn't mean it at all, and he's since issued a statement that he says he never discussed this, and from his point of view, there is no reason for the 25th Amendment to be invoked, in fact, for Mr. Trump.
Right. You know, we have had so many different machinations, if you will. I was laughing in the room before we did this that I have a couple of federally charged clients, and I'd like to be able to have an opportunity to fire all the people that are in charge of those investigations. In 10 seconds or less, Brian, what do you see happening at the end of the day here?
He's going to meet with the president on Thursday, and I would suggest he'll probably be out of the office by Friday.
Man, I'll tell you something. That is not a walk to that White House that I want to be taking myself as a prosecutor-type person. But, hey, Brian Ross, you are the best. We are so privileged and honored to have you here at the Law&Crime Network. Thank you for that excellent reporting. We'll be right back.